have no idea what the sound is like on this. See if you can hear the audio. So I'm going to see what I can see on a YouTube channel. But basically, I did get my laptop camera to work, as you can see. I don't. So right now I'm playing. I'm trying to bring my laptop up. I'm sorry, this channel up on my cell phone because I don't really have the audio. Okay, it might have come up. It didn't come up under the tree, not forest deal. This is a mess, so I don't know if I'm going to get to my channel or not. But let's see what's showing up out here. My channel. This is some good video, isn't it? Okay, now I'm watching myself watch myself, and there is a delay. And the audio is terrible, so I finally did get to it, but I don't know where the microphone is on the PC. So, and this PC is overtaxed, running on one thing at once. So where are we? Good morning, neighbors. I'm going to start this anyway just because it isn't about the presentation. So this morning I was going to talk about nuclear fuel cycle. And I'm listening to myself in live chat. So from the cell phone, and the delay is about 7 seconds, it sounds like. So, sorry, not on the other channel. Let's see what happens here. So I'm changing tabs on my page, looking at myself. Oh, this is some excellent video, I'm sure. But anyway, every single commercial nuclear plant is refueled on some cycle. It depends on the fuel in the reactors, the type of fuels, and what the intent of the fuel is. So how long it can sit in that soup and boil before it just goes totally bad and is useless. So in the US, almost every reactor here has a portion of its fuels replaced every 2 years. So every few years, might be 3 years, depends on a bunch of engineering stuff. The reactor is shut down, cooled down, any maintenance planned or scheduled. Those slightly leaking valves and such, those types of things are planned to be taken care of. Huge maintenance items, things that were scheduled 10 years before that outage are going to be done because equipment wears out and gets replaced. Huge efforts, a whole bunch of work, bustling, hustling all at once, and that's once every 2 years. So you've got a mobile workforce in the US, very basically, that every 2 years is moving around somewhere to do this fuel rod work. These are the subcontractors and the support folks. So planning and scheduling out these things is a huge long-term, you need a 30-year fuel plan for these plants. Now you need a 50-year fuel plan for these plants. You need the supplies. It has to be there. You can't shut down without it. If you leave fuel in the reactors too long and don't get them away from each other, it does go sour. It because of all the different decay modes and all the interactions inside the rods, it turns into more plutonium. It turns into unusable plutonium isotopes, and I'm just using plutonium as one example. So remember, isotopes. There's really no such thing as one isotope. the decay properties from that isotope release energies that can do a lot of different things, from disturbing, making electron orbitals ring and noise in the system, to outright destroying other molecules or other isotopes or other elements. So that's the neutron bombardment thing. And that's what they depend on, that neutron bombardment, to make the plutonium that the military needs and the space agencies are arguing that they need. So you cannot separate nuclear fuel for a weapon versus nuclear fuel for a commercial reactor. They absolutely are related. You can't get away from that. That's the physics of it. That is billion-year-old decay times and studies and information we know of that helped us prove our thoughts about how old geology is, how old the planet is, how old the sun is. And on a way cool note, I don't know what happens here if I do this. I'm going to tab off of the page in Google News. Any news, Google the Parker Solar Probe. So this is on the measurement side. This is the side that I am extremely interested in and know that we don't get enough information from. And why is the Parker Solar Probe relevant? That probe has the most sophisticated analytics spectrometry systems on board it, coupled with ground processing information systems, in order to make heads or tails of what that detector series is reading. Those detectors are related to the detectors in CERN that are doing all of that amazing stuff the most expensive science on this planet can provide into subatomic particle research. So we're talking an interrelated, multi-trillion-dollar industry that wants to pretend that it sits out here by itself and is amazing, that wants to pretend that some single state has the right to pollute the globe, and we don't understand what these things are and what they're doing and why they're doing it. So back to the fuel cycle. Every 2 years, those tin cans are opened up. So if you follow, and some of my friends do, and this is years of kind of watching this, you'll notice the instrumentation goes down. The public instrumentation goes down around some of these events. It goes down for maintenance, which is required, no debate, no argument, but somehow the information lost in those seems to be, or the information that it does show, these huge spikes, and then all of a sudden the instrument's turned off. That's a tell. It's a tell that maintenance is being done. It's a tell that the instrument's out of service. There are records for that. Someone knows exactly why the instrument was taken offline, and they owe us the explanations. Okay, these are federally required measurement systems in federal laws for all the states. The states do not get around this stuff, in spite of what our IQ 45 thinks. There's a reason for common law, not Sharia law, in the sciences. We know what this stuff is. Quit playing. I can't say much more than that. So that fuel cycle, that tin can is opened up every 2 years. That massive can of steaming tuna fish is opened up, and everything that's in there that hasn't been removed, depressurized, even if it's depressurized, you know pressure has nothing to do with nuclear emissions. Well, it does, because the heat, blah, 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 PV equals nRT. So now they know exactly what is in those reactors down to the minute that it's in those reactors. When they pull that fuel out of the reactor, the first thing that happens with that fuel bundle, and it's on the crane gantry, is it's weighed. That first critical weight is huge, because if only a part of that fuel bundle comes out of the mass of fuel, you're only replacing, you don't mention much. You have to go dig to get the hard number, but they only replace, let's, for debate's sake here, a quarter of the fuel bundle. So every 8 years, the whole fuel set has been replaced. That's all out in the cool down bins, in the storage bins above the reactor. So if it blows up, it's taking it out. But no worries. So that fuel is going to sit around for another decade or two possibly. They're playing with these rules because they want to get it out of there quicker, but those fuel bundles have to cool down. If they don't cool down, they get more bombardment from other radiation sources, they will heat up. Or they will turn into something that's so nasty no one can get near it. And that's a challenge. They won't last forever in the water. It costs millions of dollars a month to keep that water right. It's not water. It's ultra high purity water with things like microscopic traces of boron put into it and other chemicals to correct the pH, because the pH gets screwed by all this bombardment. And so that fuel matters a lot. So they've opened this tin can up. They've vented a bunch of stuff out they never talk about. They always do. So there is, back in their documents and their licensing agreements, long lists of emissions. And there's even longer lists of emissions they don't talk about, because all they have to talk about is what they're told to talk about. And some of this is a secret. So that's where we are, I think. We are in a huge conundrum. The fuel cycle's a mess. They open the cans up every 2 years. It adds pollution into our environment. It is decadal and generational. And then they put the lid back on and start over again. So they're bringing it up to pressure. They don't have any special fuels. It runs, something goes wrong, they have to emergency vent all of the gases out again and cool down, fix something, start back up. They just did a complete vent. Now, the reason they can do these is because they're using averaging in their releases. So one huge release can be argued as an average dosage over a year, and they can't exceed the total yearly dosage. So these little spikes that come out are just, extra free food, fodder for the community to worry about, or not worry about, because they really don't understand, don't have the instrumentation to go there. So the Parker Solar Probe, that thing's amazing. It is the most advanced, at the time, spectrometer set ever launched, and it's doing the most advanced high temperature, high particle energy research that we have ever done in our lives. And so now it's going closer to the sun than we have ever been. This is us getting close to the sun. We used to think the thing was a god. Now we know it's a sun. So awesome, amazing stuff going on. Then we've got Fukushima. So Fukushima. So those reactor contents I just spoke to, they are managed, monitored above and beyond anything discussed, because it's complicated. And some of it is trade secrets and worth a whole lot of money. And we're teaching the Saudis this shit, how to blow people up easy. So I see a problem here. But on the good side, whatever I'm doing with my laptop kind of worked. So if I can get the video up, it's cheesy stream and not a good camera. It's the PC microphone, I think. Yes, has to be. So, boy, I didn't want to do this one this morning. I'm not into it. All right, so the fuel's been replaced. Now we go into a use and management cycle. So the operators are out there operating the heck out of things. The engineers are in other rooms taking samples and watching how everything's going, because this is a soup they're cooking. In 2 years, they have to be ready to put in more ingredients. So they're watching all of these ingredients go. If they're using MOX fuel, they're looking at plutonium content and neutron bombardment and things like that, because they're trying to make plutonium, or they're trying to change something else. And it's not necessarily plutonium that makes MOX, because neutron bombardments makes other elements that blow up. So if you haven't gotten an impression, this is complicated. If you haven't gotten the idea that sticking faith in the middle of this is really, really dangerous, then you're missing some of the point of this. So that's why I'm having the conversations. I'm not liking the dishonesty in public discourse about this, and it's troubling. And you have people like the Trump crime family trying to sell nuclear reactors. You have the receipts of those nuclear reactors in Saudi Arabia, the construction of that plant going on that no one has heard anything about when they're almost ready to start putting, heavy equipment into the facilities. The concrete's poured. This is years of planning. And all of a sudden, these Trumpsters have jumped in because there's big dollars, and there's big dollars, and these Trumpsters ever dreamed of in nuclear. And if you can get your fingers in there, you're rich. That's why I didn't go to this game, because you couldn't ever become rich enough to change it. So, knock, knock on their doors. All right. You can tell my animus here. I am professionally pissed off, and I don't understand why more professionals just don't have an attitude about this. I know there's a lot of people my age that have been through this. One of the problems I've seen is people thinking they know it. They've been through a school 40 years ago that taught them, let's say nuclear reactor operations. You've got a hell of a lot of training. Folks in the Air Force, you've got training on bombing and targeting and aircraft maintenance, and you have a PhD in things that other people have no ideas about, but you can't have that conversation because you don't have the tags or titles to be able to make a claim in front of what's called a sophisticated audience. So there's the challenges in all. This is big. This is huge. This is the physics and the sciences of the planet, not the state of Uzbekistan or hamburgers or beliefs and thoughts, because there's people that know better. I challenge it. I challenge, bring it. If you have a question about what I'm speaking to, if you find something totally off in my science, if this doesn't lead to you understanding that nuclear reactor down the street is going to destroy generations of life around it, not just a boom and we go clean it up. That was the fallacy of the atomic weapons used in Japan. The cover-up of the impacts of that is huge. Go back in my videos, you'll find another link somewhere about how, and it's a new test, we can test for nuclear-related damage to the genetics of organisms. It is the most advanced, most sophisticated sciences on the planet. It's driven out of the money that we spend on sciences, and we don't profit from it. We don't. The guy in the grocery store that's selling the cans, that pays the taxes, that pays for the nuclear waste, what does he get? Health care? No, fuck him. He doesn't need health care. Sorry. So there's this word called stochastic analysis. Okay, this is a way of looking at information to derive probabilities and potentials. This is a world of heuristics. It's a world of equations that explain why a casino gets your money and you don't. It is that exact same world of chance. And that is the challenge in this. People go to Las Vegas and think they know the game, and good luck. I put some money in the slot machine, but I don't often. So a very powerful, a very well-educated, a very well group of people who are aware of the real world around us and how it works, and the cycles that we have been through over billions of years. Every civilization that has fallen because of resources. Either a neighboring power, a neighboring tribe is getting too big and running out of resources, and they need your apples and pears and meats from your area, or the climate has changed where they were because change, delta. This is the power of calculus. Sorry, that's what this is. It's calculus. It is summations of probabilities that we are learning about from billions of years of studying how we got here, and it leads to where we're going or can go. And it's on us. It's spooky. It's really unnerving to think it's all on us to figure out if we can do better. It's not being handed to us. It's not a secret. It's not hidden. It isn't in one book. So there. I appreciate anybody that's listened. I didn't cover much of the topic I intended to, and just wow. Just wow. Where's the news? Where's the reason for the news? Hey, love you. Stay off my grass. You're welcome to talk. Boo.